Coming up today, I was so ready to just once again get upset, pissed off. I had written down, never does this team keep a bad pitcher bad. I'm hearing all about Jordan Montgomery's terrible right now. Didn't look like that facing the Guardians. I'm looking at the calendar, Zach, and I'm seeing a team that we're not even into June, and I'm wondering, are we laying this season to rest? Is it over? Is it over before the calendar even runs out of days in May? It's not even Shane Bieber and my own birthday yet. How can the season be over? Friday night, I thought, okay, the start of something. Because at this point, I'm grasping onto anything. And then Saturday happens. Once again, another one-run decided game. This team is on pace to somehow play more one-run games than they've actually played games, period. And then Sunday, nothing happening. On the way to another devastating, demoralizing punch to the gut. But this game, Zach, has a knack for making us look bad, making us look silly. And we had something prepared along those lines, right? But I think, you know what, dude? We need to table that for a little bit. Because it's only positive vibes when your team comes from behind in the ninth inning and your hero, Jose Ramirez, delivers the game winner. No, we need a post-game atmosphere that's going to lift the spirits and get everybody feeling much, much better. Welcome to the party, Zach Meisel. As you said, the parade is back on, baby.
What the hell is going on?
No. We're going to keep the party rolling. We need more of the party. You're going to shut the party down? You're going to be that guy that shuts the party down?
We have to pay for this?
I don't know. You know how we operate. Ask for forgiveness later. Come on, good vibes, dude. Good vibes.
Bar at Ohio State that I'm sure does not exist anymore. Charlie Bear. What a time to be alive. Guardians are 23 and 29. It's all come together.
You are bringing so much energy.
Should we go full disclosure here and admit that we were recording this shortly after I woke up from a nap?
Wake up, man. The Guardians perhaps just saved their season. And I'm trying to bring some joy, as you should feel.
I think that every person who follows this team, who watches them on a regular basis, has been waiting for the day where they could say, that's the turning point. That's the one where if things get turned around this season, we will point back to May 28th, Jose Ramirez on a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, left just where he likes it, drives in two, they win, huge exhale from the manager, the players, the hitters, the pitchers, the fans. They needed that. So let's go clubbing.
Damn it, we need it. We need it. Forget the players. Okay, fans, come on in. But we needed this. Because if I had to do another show like we've done, I wasn't going to make it. So I'm embracing, as silly as it is, as stupid as it is. They didn't take down a juggernaut team here. Cardinals have had their own issues this season. Hey, maybe these two teams line up in the future, but that's not a conversation for today. When your team that has looked dead for like the last month takes 2 out of 3 come from behind victories, You need to soak it up, soak it in, and enjoy this holiday.
Well, that's the game that they've lost 15 times already this year, right? They've been on the other end of
Sure.
that. They've been clinging to a one-run lead with very little offensive output, and Lasse or Karinchak or Steffen can't hang on to the lead. It's, I'm just going to say the reason why I took an unplanned nap on a Sunday night when I got home from the ballpark is just because
This is my
it's
favorite
been
part.
exhausting.
Favorite part. I don't care if it's ridiculous. Whatever. Screw off. Get out of here. This ain't the show for you if you're not going to have some fun with us today.
I mean, it's just, like, don't you feel after watching 2 months of this season that it's felt like 2 years? Like, it's taking years off your life. It's just every single game is a one-run game that comes down to the end, and it's a lack of execution or a lack of being able to deliver the hit that they delivered today that has been their downfall, and it's just that it gets exhausting.
Yes.
But I think that's why you got to rally, and you got to go back to the bar and get that next round of drinks and wait for that beat to drop.
Oh, I was going to put this away. Now you brought it back out again.
No, let's go. I've been on an EDM kick lately. Let's keep going.
Do you think we could just do an hour of this on loop?
Only if you paid for the permission. I thought the rule is 10 seconds of a song.
Royalty-free music. And fingers crossed. That's the way that I operate. This beat was made for the Guardians. This beat, when the composer sat down to do this, they had this show in mind. That a team struggling to get, forget close to a 500 mark, close to even being able to see it in the distance. But they take 2 out of 3. They come from behind. Jose Ramirez is the reason why you emerge victorious in the 9th inning. Why did they pitch to him? Who cares? Who knows? I don't care. Should they have walked him? Maybe. I'm glad they didn't, because I wanted this party to roll. It's a lot better than... There it is. A lot better than a lot of clubhouses you've been in here lately. Set the scene. Afterwards, was it this kind of atmosphere? Was Jose Ramirez still wearing a bucket of bubble yum on top of his head? Was Josh Naylor throwing buckets at anybody? I mean, I need to be led into the sights and sounds of a clubhouse that needed to feel some good vibes.
Let me give you this. So, it's funny how, pitcher wins mean nothing, right?
Sure.
But they know anytime someone gets their first win, even if it's a reliever who goes a third of an inning and just happened to be at the right place at the right time. So Xavier Curry was, we should probably give him a little bit of time here. I feel like we haven't really talked about him this season. You could make a case.
Whoa. Somebody on this show was once advocating for this guy to get some starts, not too...
You're right. I did do that.
Too far in the past. Oh, sure. It was you. I forgot. Yeah, of course.
You could make a case that he's... I'm trying to... How far do I want to take this? Is he their MVP? Or has anyone exceeded expectations more?
Very good question. He's basically grown into the Eli Morgan role better than Eli Morgan was doing it.
Who's their MVP through the first third?
I would say Payne.
Let me make a case.
Payne has been the MVP.
Who has?
Payne.
They play so many close games. The back end relievers are just... they can't breathe. How many times has Curry allowed them a day to rest? so that the next day, when inevitably it's another one-run game, they can go again. And we've seen him be used in situations in recent weeks that aren't just an 8-1 deficit. I mean, he came in a one-run game and he kept it there for 3 innings. So to answer your question, he got the beer shower because it's his first major league win. And I think he's got the quote of the year. He said, "Pressure either busts pipes or it makes diamonds, and I like to shine."
It's so good. Where is that going in the book for the 2023 World Champion Guardians? When you sit down to pen it,
Well,
that has to
he's
go somewhere
probably
near the beginning.
On the cover,
Well, he's the MVP.
holding his Cy Young trophy. I mean, truly, can't you make an argument that he's been like as important of a player as anyone a third of the way through the season? And what would the odds have been at the start of the season for that?
Well, it's not good. It's not good because the odds were not good, but it's also not good because this is not something actually worth celebrating. The fact that your middle reliever / long guy, mop up guy has helped save your season because he's given you enough innings to be able to stay away from burning everybody else. Not a good situation. Now, we can separate that for a minute and give him the credit that he deserves. He has pitched really well. And they're going to be making some other tough calls, which I want to get to some of what they're going to do with this pitching. We can actually have serious conversations more than 11 minutes into the show about things that are happening with this team.
We can do
when
that
the time
with the
calls
music
for
still
it.
playing in the background. You didn't.
We
Have to
could. We could talk about, is Quantrill keeping his spot? Is Gaddis keeping his spot? Sure, all of that with a sick beat underneath. It makes sense. We'll see what this does to the numbers. I don't even know if what we were saying was audible while that was playing, but that's the whole point. Welcome to the club. No one goes to the club to be able to have conversations. But yeah, you're right. I mean, he is one of the very few that you can point to and say, this is someone that I want to not only see more of, but I want to dig in on from a positive perspective to see what he's doing, that if this is sustainable. Usually at this point in the season, there's at least 3 or 4 guys that when another team comes to town and they say, hey, what's going on with your team? Inevitably, you talk about the negative things, but there's always a handful of guys that you're like, hey, this guy is having a really good season. Keep an eye on this guy. And there's been none of that. Nothing like that. Now, of course, Bybee and Logan Allen have been tremendous stories, and nobody is taking anything away from them because if this team does get to a point where they're getting back into a conversation legitimately about chasing a division title, it's going to be in large part because of the innings that Bybee and Logan Allen have given them and may continue to give them in the future. But beyond that, Xavier Curry. I mean, it's gotten so bad that I was ready to have a conversation amidst all of the negativity that I was prepared for about being excited about more Gabriel Arias. And that's based on some good games here and there. And it looks like he's swinging the bat with far more authority. Even his outs today were impressive. The big could have been a 3-run bomb early in the game. It didn't end up being that, but I'm very happy to see more of him. And that's not even a guy that is the surface numbers would reflect that that's a guy I really want to see more of. But it is a guy I want to see more of. All of that changes. It tells you, we've been saying this, I feel like a lot throughout the year, that for as bad as things have gone, if 1 or 2 things flip in a few of these games, there's so many one-run victories, they could be playing as poor as they have. But if you turn 3 of those Clase blown saves into victories, it sure reflects a lot differently on your record, and I think sort of how you feel about this team. And this weekend is a good example of that. That just a few small outcomes within a game that are this close, 1-run games, it changes how you feel about your team based just on that.
Yeah, I mean, 4 games in Minnesota next week could tell us a lot. That series goes one way or the other in convincing fashion, and I think there's a lot to digest. Yeah, Curry's been big. I don't know. This team is weird. Like, Zanino had a handful of hits over the weekend. And like all but one were just, he had another infield hit he legged out. He had like a bloop, and it's just like, does that give him the starting job through August now? Like I can see better results from him and Rosario and whomever else, and still feel like you can't talk me out of Bo Naylor. You can't talk me out of more of Arias and Freeman and Rocchio. So I still think you have to get to the next stage of this season. And to me, that next stage needs to have some of those other players before I can really take you seriously. But I think the main thing here, let me say this. I've never been more wrong in my life than when I got on this podcast like a month ago and said the starting pitching concerned me more than the lineup. I mean, what a dumbass thing to say, right? So I am never wrong, and I'm never that wrong. But that was that was like Zanino for the first 3 weeks of May. Just what a swing and a miss. And the starting pitching is the reason this team has a reasonable floor. Most nights, they are going to be in the game. And if they can get any freaking timely hitting, they're going to be right there. So you saw, like Saturday, tons of hits. Certainly more than the Cardinals had, who had none after the third inning and had 2 in 10 innings and still managed to win that game. Sunday looked like the same thing. I think they had 10 hits before Jose's 2 runs. So you see, like, the formula is obvious. It's the same as it feels like it's been for years and years. They have the starting pitching, and the starting pitching is only going to get better here in the next week or so. But they've got to find a way to, it's not even to string hits together, but it's just like to have impact. They just don't have impact. And it's whether it's power, whether it's the threat of extra bases. I mean, how lucky are you that Jose Ramirez was the guy at the plate there?
Right. And that they were willing to pitch to him to begin with at all. And Jose himself is not having a great year by Jose Ramirez's own standards. I mean, he's been okay, kind of meh by his standards. And it's not that that's bad, but when everybody else is as bad as they have been, you're asking him to basically go out there and put up a 150 WRC plus to make up for everyone. That might not be fair, but that's the role that he's been thrust in for some time now, and you're paying him to be. And luckily, you're right, he comes up in that spot on Sunday.
And it was 2 walks preceded him, so if you do choose to walk Jose, bases are loaded, guy doesn't have command, he could walk Josh Bell, who's got a pretty good eye, and walk in the tying run. Also, what a matchup for Jose, though. You know, he had walked 2 guys, the command wasn't there. You know, he couldn't get cute. He had to throw some fastballs.
Yeah.
There's nothing Jose would rather see than even 100 miles an hour, that fastball middle in that he can yank.
Well, even earlier in the series, he's been picked apart. A couple of at-bats in key spots where they went soft stuff, breaking stuff early, and then they forced him to expand the strike zone later with fastballs because his eyes lit up. He's like, oh my God, it's a fastball. They're throwing me a fastball. And unfortunately for him, there's 2 strikes. He expands and he's back to the dugout. And, on Friday, I know at least on one occasion on Friday night, maybe 2, but it felt like it had happened a couple of times. So I'm sure good for him. He feels like finally hittable pitch, hit it to the gap. And you can see he hits the ball. The arms are in the air almost immediately because he knows if there's one thing this team will do, despite the fact that they're apparently allergic to stealing bases here recently, they still will be aggressive when their ball is heading to the gap and there's a first to third or first to home opportunity. And so I'm sure in that situation he felt like Get it to the gap. If that ball's getting to the wall, we've won this game, and I'm pretty sure he was pretty ecstatic about that. What what you said actually has led me in 7 different directions. I don't know which way to go, but I'll go with the starting pitching. We mentioned they've got some big decisions to make coming up. Tristan McKenzie is very quickly coming back. Aaron Savali's got one more rehab start. And I would say everybody is making this.
Savali made his last one.
Okay, so he
And
made the
McKenzie will
last
make
one.
his last one Tuesday.
Okay, got that reversed. You could make a case before that all these guys are pitching extremely well. Gaddis had a tremendous outing coming in today. Then through 4 innings today, you're like, how do you take this guy out of the rotation? Then he gives up 3 home runs. I'm like, was he tipping his pitches again? Like, what the hell happened there? It will be an interesting decision what they end up doing. One of those spots should be pretty easy to make a call on, but then I was starting to look at, could they potentially go away from Cal Quantrill? That seems crazy to me, but it's not exactly crazy. I don't. What is the sense you're getting on what they're going to do with those 2 rotation spots?
Well, I think Gaddis will lose his. I think that they think Gaddis will be a reliever long term. I just don't know when you make that move. The wild card here is Cody Morris too, because they're going to build him up to about 3 innings and then decide if they want to keep building him up or just leave him there. So I wouldn't be shocked to see him as like some multi-inning Curry-like guy. And that could be interesting in the bullpen. And then you start thinking about, oh, well, whose spot would he take? And Cody Morris is 3-ish weeks away. But I don't know. Karinchak might want to start pitching better and throwing strikes.
Ooh.
Because Morris is coming at some point. And they could send Morris to AAA once he's ready, but they do like him. And I think having another multi-inning guy out there would help too. Just something to think about.
But to your point, how many guys like that you can't make the whole bullpen out of the black box, or in this case, out of 3-inning guys. I mean, you're going to go full Tampa Bay Rays and ask your starters to only go 4, and then the next guy comes in, he gives you 3? Like, what?
No, but if you're keeping Allen and Bybee in the rotation, and you know those guys are only going to be able to throw 150 innings this season, that's like a...
Sure.
I don't want to say piggyback, but it's just a safety net there.
Okay, later in the year, I buy that. That's not happening right now.
I don't know. I mean, I just, if they like the way Morris looks and he can go multiple innings and Karinchak is still walking the bases loaded.
Right, sure.
I mean, they have high leverage guys that they can, like, we've seen De Los Santos assert himself, Henches assert himself. Sandlin's been a lot better lately. Eli Morgan's been great all year. I mean, I don't think there's a need to keep throwing Karinchak in important situations. Anyway, back to the
De Los Santos has certainly earned more opportunities by the way that he's pitched.
So with the rotation, as of Sunday morning, Carl Willis claims they still don't really know. I think Gaddis will be replaced by one of them. Would make sense if that's Savali Friday in Minnesota. But McKenzie could pitch as soon as Sunday in Minnesota, and that would be Quantrill's day, I believe. I think. I don't know. I mean, you can't send Bybee down, can you? He's been awesome. You have Bieber. He's not going anywhere. And Logan Allen's been pretty good too. I mean, he'd probably be like the favorite to just, if someone's getting sent down, but he also is the one who has nothing left to prove at AAA. He spent half the season there last year and then spent the first month there this year.
Well, unless you're using this as a time to leverage those innings the way you want, and say we want to skip a start here or there, but I mean, that's tough. I know teams have found a way to do it, like the Tampa Bay Rays do that all the time, where they flip guys AAA up and down. They use the injured list to their advantage. Part of the reason they probably target guys that are often injured is because they think, hey, that's another roster spot because that guy's going to get on the 15-day injured list. It's inevitable. I don't know how proactive they'll be, but that's the only scenario where it makes sense to me, for Bybee or Allen to be kicked out of the rotation right now. I think they've definitely earned their spots. I don't know about Quantrill.
What do you do with him? Another multi-inning guy in the bullpen?
That's what I mean. And
does Stuff play well there?
Isn't that makes me worried because you're bringing two guys off the injured list and you're going to kick a starter, into relief? Well, what happens when one of those guys that have been injured need to go back on the injured list? Like, I don't want to be taking guys out of rotation spots that are stretched out and ready to go and start taking innings away from them.
I don't know. They have ruled out a 6-man rotation. I know that. Maybe for like a turn through the rotation, but they're not going to have... Tito does not want to decrease the number of relievers. Understandably. I don't know. I mean, so I'm looking at Logan Allen's numbers. 3.31 ERA in 6 starts. He's given up a decent amount of hits, but he doesn't walk anybody. Strikeouts are good. Doesn't give up home runs. So the FIP's 3.29. It's right there. He's been legit. You wouldn't look at his recent starts either and be like, oh, that's a guy that could use a trip to Columbus, because his line doesn't look great from that White Sox start this last week. But I mean, I think Tito was just giving him an opportunity to try to he earned the right to try to get out of that inning. They liked some matchups better, whatever. He loaded the bases and gave up the hit, but he had been dynamite before that inning. He was really good the start before. You could make a case that the move to make is him to AAA.
I think that's a terrible case.
Okay.
Again, unless you're doing it strategically as a way to make sure you get as much of him as you can later in the year.
So then frame it this
way. That's the only selling point. Well, here's what I find really interesting. How much do they weigh past performance based on what guys are doing right now? We know they look far beyond just surface level stats and what a guy has done in his most recent outings. But I could make a case that if you're ranking guys based on the way that they've just thrown this year, Hunter Gaddis has thrown the ball better than Cal Quantrill has. Now, Cal Quantrill is a guy that will, I think, always outpitch his metrics. I think there's always going to be something, at least based on the metrics we have now, that fail to capture fully what makes him a capable pitcher. And there's a lot of rotations that he would not be concerned about a rotation spot right now. But based just on performance and who has earned it thus far this year, Cal Quantrill's baseball savant page is not one to write home about. I don't think it ever will be, but it certainly is not screaming a lot of confidence. Even his numbers last year were far better than where he's at this year. I mean, there's a lot of blue on that page. And Hunter Gaddis, you look at his baseball savant page, and some of the way that he's managed hard contact, today aside, 3 home runs given up, but still there's been some, I would say, more positives here recently just based on recent performance than Quantrill. And this is coming from a guy that I like Cal Quantrill. I'm not running away from him. This is a blessing to be having this conversation, because I said there's a lot of teams that would just, Quantrill would have his rotation spot. There'd be no question here.
Do we overdo the baseball savant sliders? I mean, Bieber
to a certain extent,
as much blue as anybody.
Well, difference here is he's also getting better results than Quantrill is right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I feel like we've been talking about this day for a month because we've known it's coming. And yet there's still no clarity. And I was told this stuff always works itself out.
We're not there yet.
That's true.
Are we there yet? We're not there yet. We'll see. Of all of the things that we've kicked around and been ticked off about this year, this is one of the more pleasant conversations because it's about having a surplus of guys that you actually like. Yeah, for as much as Cal Quantrill isn't screaming anything in particular this year, it's like, I'm really excited about him. I still think he's a capable league average pitcher. I think that's in there. That could give you a lot of innings, a lot of volume. That's like, if the worst case scenario is you just had too many arms and you have to give that guy fewer innings or less of a role, so be it.
I'll tell you what, if this team ever gets back to 500, I'll start asking you to list which 3 starters would start in a playoff series for you.
That didn't stop you last year when they were even further back in the division than where they're at now.
But the answer this year will be so different.
It would be. Yeah, you'd have picked. I haven't seen McKenzie throw at all since spring training. But how could I insert him?
You might go Gavin
or
Williams,
say that I
Tanner Bybee, and Joey Cantillo.
Sure.
And Zach Plesac.
Those are more, as much as I was annoyed by those questions last year, let's go back in time to that. That was enjoyable. The good old days. Didn't know I was in them until they were long gone. But hey, that's all right. If I end up being, I've been a Cal Quantrill supporter. If I end up being wrong about that, fine. There's plenty of stuff I've been wrong about this year. Plenty of stuff you've been wrong about this year. And regardless of whether or not they have taken 2 out of 3 from St. Louis, doesn't change the fact that there's still a lot here that, as much as we in our most recent episode, we said there's a blame game going on here and enough blame to go around. Why should we escape that, right? There are things that we said were going to happen, things that we thought should happen, did happen, have not led to success. So how about you and I take a little bit of our own medicine? What do you think?
Yeah, without question. We suck, and I think we need to talk about it.
Maybe if I play the club music a little bit louder, they won't hear us. You want to share one? I've got 3.
Yeah.
3 things that I've been wrong about this year that I think it's just important to put it out there.
So my wife listens to a podcast I think it's called You're Wrong About. And it's something that just, there are public misconceptions and they feed you the facts. And it had me thinking, especially I think just over the weekend, just looking at the stats of every hitter who came to the plate and thinking, man, that's not what I envisioned a couple months ago. So so we said we would each do 3. I kind of already said one, my main one, which is I got up here and said, hey, the lineup's going to be fine. Stop worrying about the offense. They're going to get back to their Tito's bloop troop and the slash and dash style and everything will be great. It's just they don't have enough starting pitchers. What are they going to do with the rotation? You freaking idiot. Yeah, I mean, I was wrong. They haven't looked like the team that embraced and boasted that identity last year. They haven't looked like the team that wants to be the aggressor and make you play at their speed. None of that has happened. They can't seem to figure out who gives them the best chance to score runs. And it's been a complete mess. I didn't think... I felt like... Look, I hate the weather's cold in April and blah, blah, blah. You know that conversation. But I didn't think this would last as long as it's lasted. Especially after the first road trip. I mean, the offense was fine in Seattle and Oakland. It was not warm there. So it's been strange. It's been strange to see this entire outage where nobody has gotten hot ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wrong. What
It's
were you wrong
one
about?
thing. Oh, so much. So much. We've got 30 minutes to unpack it all. It would be one thing for Oscar Gonzalez to be struggling. I would have bought that. I would have bought that Andres Jimenez regressed and he wasn't having anywhere near the success that he was having in his All-Star season. Would have bought that. I would have bought that Josh Bell struggled to get started. I would have bought that Josh Naylor was having some terrible luck. I would have bought that Stephen Kwan was struggling in his second season to just kind of get back into being the base hit machine that he was last year. I would have bought that Ahmed Rosario got off to a slow start as he's wont to do. I would have bought every single element of that. I would have bought that Zunino was going to struggle offensively and was going to strike out all the time. But you know what I would have not bought? All of that effing happening in the same year in the first 2 months of the season. Never would have bought that. And that's what has driven me wild and just absolutely crazy watching this all unfold. It's one thing for all of that to happen. I kind of price that into my evaluation. Like when we're talking about the offense getting better with upgrading the catcher from where you're at and upgrading the DH from where you're at. I kind of, within that, thought, some of these guys might regress a little bit, and it all evens out. Nowhere close. Not even close. So what was I wrong about? Well, I haven't even mentioned his name yet, but I thought the odds were semi-good that Miles Straw could be enough offensively to keep that starting spot in center field and not be screaming about it. Not that he's going to transform into a 320 hitter and be rocking a 115 WRC plus, but I thought, could this guy get to the 80 to 90 range? Yeah, absolutely. We've seen that before. I don't have any doubt in my mind. And then gets off to a really hot start, kind of like what he did last year, and I thought, there it is. There's the guy. You do enough of that out of the 9 spot, you get on base like 33% of the time, I'm happy. Gold Glove center field, stealing bases, fantastic. I will take that. I'll be happy about that. That guy has disappeared yet again. To the point where I'm like, there's nobody else to go play center field right now. Like, I'm not screaming about getting Will Brennan into center field to make room for somebody else in right field.
Spoiler alert.
But Zach, I don't have a better solution. So slide Kwan over to center and put more Arias at-bats in the outfield and find a way to get more Freeman at-bats in there. Okay. None of that really seems easy to me, but I have been wrong 100% about Miles Straw being good enough offensively to still be a very impactful is too strong of a word for the type of skill set that he brings, but still having some impact on this lineup. I thought he was capable of doing that, and he has not been that guy. And can I, for just 5 seconds, scream into the abyss, when he is getting on base and he is not stealing, what the F? What are you there for? If you actually have reached base, don't tell me, well, I'm trying to keep this hole open for Stephen Kwan. This team can't get 3 base hits together to save their life. So I'm supposed to buy, even if you keep that hole open for Stephen Kwan when he comes up, big whoop. Want to fight about it? You can't. What am I going to? We're going to see another base hit after Kwan gets it through the right side of the infield? No, take second base, god dang it, and try to score. Where have the stolen bases gone? And I know overall they're still okay in stolen bases. They're in the top 5, I believe, in the league in stolen or in baseball in stolen bases. But here recently, that's not been an element of their game. And I buy, okay, well, we don't want to give outs away on the bases. Well, that hasn't stopped them in other areas too. I don't know. It seems like stolen bases is the one thing that they can do and should still be trying to do it when they reach base. Where have those gone? Okay, rant over.
It's hard to argue with any of that. Maybe it's my fault again. Few weeks ago, I talked to the one of the brainchild of the whole base running operation to get a sense of like how this all started and the mantra they wanted to follow and all of that aggressive mindset and how they instill it in their players, and then they just stopped. I don't know. I've got some. What's the opposite of the Midas touch? The Meisel touch, I guess.
The Meisel touch, yeah.
Okay, so number 2 for me.
Yeah, too much negativity. Sorry, we got to bring this back to spirits. They took 2 out of 3 from St. Louis. Did you know that? All of them 1-run games. They came from behind in the finale. Did you know they came from behind to take 2 out of 3 from a team that everyone thought was surging their way back into the NL Central race? Not in Cleveland. Not with the Guardians, baby.
Were you watching the first inning on Sunday? Were you watching when Josh Bell stepped into the batter's box. His broad shoulders looking like Dwight Howard or Myles Garrett. Holding that bat that he makes look like a toothpick. Stepping in against Jordan Montgomery, who is shivering in his boots. Cleats. Did you see the way Josh Bell muscled that pitch into right center for a bloop RBI single? Let that beat drop.
I'm going to take a picture for our people in the Discord that want to know whether or not we're doing an episode, when they can expect it.
We're not
Our
doing
pal
an
Milner
episode.
wanted to know.
We're doing a rave. You got glow sticks? Good thing I wore my throwback rainbow glow stick looking Devil Ray shirt from the MLB
I like
store
it.
in New York.
I feel like I should go get my Rays hat. We could just match for an episode.
You been to that MLB store in Manhattan?
I have not, no. Mm-mm.
It's dangerous.
In what way?
I see every like random T-shirt, and I just Philly fanatic. Let's go. Expos, come on.
You see what I found? I put it in the Discord a couple of days ago. Was cleaning out the basement so my mother-in-law could sell some stuff at a garage sale. So I was cleaning out a lot of kids' stuff, and I came across some boxes that I had been actually looking for like the last 2 years, and it had some of my old stuff in it. One being a baseball from that 2011 Indians team that.
Ugh.
Remember we were doing the locker cleanouts, and Vinny Pistano just started firing stuff at us like, here, take this, take this, take this. Do you remember that?
This was my first year on the beat. That was the year Matt Laporta gave a few reporters bottles of wine as a peace offering.
That's like, Vinny, what am I supposed to do with this? First of all, I don't feel like I should take this, but I also feel bad telling you no, I don't want it. So I'm like stuck in between, and then I just got shoved into a box. Anyway, what I found, 2 of the Surfin' Sizemore baubles. 2 of them. One of them's missing a thumb. Somehow found an old Cocoa Crisp bauble that's missing an arm. A Prunk bauble that has the pen. Do you remember the Indians pen bat Hafner bobblehead?
No.
Got one of those.
Did I share with you the bobblehead I got in New York that the Mets gave out?
You did not, no.
It is a Francisco Lindor. I don't. You can grow grass on it. It's like there are like
What?
There are like 8 really involved, detailed steps listed on the box, but you can like grow grass on the bottom of it. It's enormous. He's got his like bluish hair. It's one of the stranger bobbleheads. The box was so big, I wasn't sure how I was going to fit in my luggage. But yeah, the weirder the better. So that's definitely one to hold on to.
Are we ever going to share what we were wrong about, or are we just going to delay
So
it?
Josh Bell. Here's a little quiz for you. Do you know who leads baseball in slugging percentage as of the time of me looking this up today?
Leads baseball in slugging percentage?
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't be a guy that couldn't get the ball off the ground several years ago.
It is.
That had gigantic muscles.
That's right.
I'm going to guess one Yandy Diaz.
That is correct. Do you know who ranks 7th in baseball in slugging percentage?
Seventh in baseball.
We've
Has to be
talked
another
about him
former
many times
Cleveland
on this podcast.
Indian Guardian. Is it Oscar Mercado? No, wait. He hasn't gotten enough plate appearances. No, who is 7th?
It's Sean Murphy. But do you know who
So
ranks...
he's dropped off. He's dropped off.
Do you know who ranks 152nd out of 162 qualified hitters in slugging percentage?
I don't want to know the answer.
It's Josh Bell. Play that music.
Why? Why? Why you
There
gotta
are
ruin
only-
everybody's Sunday?
There are only 10 qualified hitters with a worse slugging percentage.
Oh.
Now, he might climb a couple spots because he did have 2 hits on Sunday. That raised his slugging percentage from 326. Yeah, 326. He was behind Stephen Kwan.
Oh. I can't do this. I'm
335.
sorry.
And I was saying all December, January, February, March, this guy's going to be here 1 year. No shift? Oh, he's going to take advantage of it. He won a Silver Slugger last season, 2019. He was an all-star in this building. He had his best season yet. He's going to put it all together. He's going to hit 30 home runs. He's going to be a guy who makes a ton of contact, doesn't strike out. He's going to walk 80, 90 times. Like, he's the perfect fit for them. Nope.
You were so wrong.
You can pencil him into your 2024 lineup, I think. Yeah. 222, 330, 335 slash line, a 90 WRC plus, but even that seems inflated a little just because of all the walks, which give him credit, but honestly, like, stop walking and just hit.
Well, what's going on here recently where now he's swinging at the first pitch every other at bat, and I'm fine with that. Like, swing at the first pitch if it might be your best pitch to hit. Truthfully, that's why you look at the numbers. Hitters that swing at the first pitch will do better. That's typically where the ball is going to be in the strike zone. It might be a fastball. The pitcher's trying to get ahead of you. Swing at it if it's in the zone. How many first pitch swinging pop-ups did he have in this series alone?
I keep asking if Stephen Kwan is going to start to be more aggressive on the first pitch because it's the same thing. I mean, pitchers know you're not going to swing. They're going to throw you a fastball in the zone, and that might be the best pitch you have to hit all at bat.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually started swinging a little bit more. His old college teammate and his opponent for the next few days, Adley Rutschman, now ranks first in fewest first pitches swung at. Kwan's second. His percentage has gone from like 5 to like almost 8% swinging at them. Anyway, Bell, I mean, he's been a bust so far. And the weird thing is, I mean, we've just seen so many ground balls. And I wrote about this in like mid-April when he got to that awful start right before the Washington series, the Meisel touch. And I mean, the thing that he was even candid about it, which I appreciated. But you know, Chris Vallejo was saying it, Terry Francona was saying it. Just his timing was so off that his contact point was so late that everything he was hitting was on the ground just because he was just behind. And so you look at his launch angle, and he even said, he's like, when I'm not going well, my launch angle is all messed up, and I'm pounding it into the ground. When I am going well, I'm spraying fly balls all over the place. And we've seen a lot of that again lately. So whatever it requires mechanically or approach-wise to get him confident, and so he is not just guessing and reacting to what he sees, I think that would help hit the ball in the air more, and then you see some results. It's just awkward when you see someone his size with his strength, like awkwardly hit a slow roller to shortstop.
Because when you see that guy actually bomb one, you're like, holy crap, dude, how are you not doing that all the time? And I took away one of the comments that Tito made over the weekend about him, that he's a tinkerer. And I would imagine that's probably very frustrating as a hitting coach to work with somebody like that, because you might be thinking you're having a breakthrough, but if you're not seeing the results, are you going to be able to keep him committed to maybe what you think is something positive, even if he's not seeing the results? That's tough. But hey, most of us have been wrong about Bell. There may have been a few people that said, I don't think he's that good. The majority of us have been wrong about that. That's fine. I'll take my medicine on that. And I will come back to the point where you and I can be wrong. That's fine. No one's going to fire us. They could stop listening to the show, I guess. Or they could just come and laugh at all the stupid things we're going to say in the future. The front office is supposed to be better at doing this than we are. They're supposed to have a better record than we do. We shouldn't be able to come on here and make the joke, hey, just listen to us because we know what we're talking about. Because unfortunately, we say things like, hey, go sign Josh Bell. Or, hey, I think Andres Gimenez is in for a spectacular year. I think he's going to follow up his All-Star season with another solid one. I think the trip to the World Baseball Classic is going to do him well, being around other really talented players, maybe help him come more out of his own confidence shell to just be the best vicious version of himself. And here is where Andres Gimenez ranks going into Sunday's game. First in average exit velocity percentile, 40th in max EV, first in hard hit percentage, 6th percentile in expected weighted on base average, 17th percentile in expected batting average, 4th percentile in expected slugging percentage, 2nd percentile in barrel percentage. And oh, by the way, he never walks, which is not something surprising. He didn't walk a lot last year, but he's still not walking a lot this year. Chase rate is terrible. I mean, some of that was still prevalent last year, and it was why I think throughout the year we always said, hey, maybe this is the best of who he is because he's optimized his pulled fly balls, and that's all great. But it might be tough for him to sustain being a 40% above league average sort of hitter, but I thought for sure he was going to be better than what he has been. And, you know, we can rip on Ahmed Rosario, and in the middle infield, there's a lot of other guys that are maybe vying for playing time. Between the two, if you ask me who do I have more confidence is going to deliver a base hit between the two, I would pick Ahmed Rosario right now. I'm not saying who do I think is going to be the better career or anything like that, but I'm saying right now, who do I have more confidence in being able to deliver a base hit? I would go with Rosario over Gimenez because he just does not look like a confident guy whatsoever.
Agreed. Gimenez looks like he's just praying he can stay on a pitch that's outside a breaking ball and just like loft it into shallow left field. All right, I was wrong about Will Brennan, and I was wrong about him up until like very recently even because I just thought he could hit. I thought his floor was really high. I didn't think what he's done so far this season was even among the possible outcomes. I thought Oscar Gonzalez going to AAA would just open the door for him to play regularly and play really well. And that hasn't happened. Slash line, 204, 242, 292. WRC plus a 45. Yikes. And I think the thing that's disappointing with him or, that you wouldn't expect is the strikeout rate, 15%. That's exactly what the projection systems forecasted. That's a fine, there's nothing wrong with that. He's just not hitting the ball hard. He's not finding holes. And there was a little bit of bad luck early on, I think. And you thought, okay, well, play regularly and he'll get in a groove. He's never. Again, I think this honestly goes for everybody except like maybe Ahmed or Jose. Like those guys are the only ones in the lineup. And Naylor when he got hot that weekend against the Angels. Who has had like a week where it's like, oh yeah, they're in a groove. You want them at the plate. Like the three guys I mentioned have maybe put together like 3-day stretches, but that's it. Yeah. No one's had like a week where they go 10 for 17 or something. No, that would be really incredible. 10 for 22. I don't know. We just haven't seen that. And
no,
he's a guy who, in the minors in AAA, like the beginning of last year, he was just putting up video game numbers. And I know that doesn't translate, but it's the skill set that should. And the walk rate, 3% this season. Like he was only projected 6 to 7% walk rate, but only having 3 that's alarming. I just think all the cliches you can throw out there, a guy who doesn't look confident. Of course he grounds into that double play with the bases loaded on Sunday. It's like literally do anything else. Just help yourself. But yeah, just not. And I just wonder if he needs a trip to AAA, but like someone's got to play right field every day. Is Gabby Arias the guy right now? It's just a revolving door
Ooh,
out there.
spoiler.
And to make
Spoiler
matters worse,
alert.
it's like you're getting nothing offensively from center field. You're getting like Stephen Kwan light so far in left field. And so to get absolutely nothing in right field, ooh, that's brutal.
Well, we had some very preliminary conversation because I hadn't seen enough of Brennan to take anything truly away from what we saw at the end of last year and in the playoffs. But we had many conversations privately, and I think a few even on the podcast. I had some concerns because the Yankees were throwing him lots of elevated stuff, and he was having no success with it. And I said, uh-oh, do they know something? And is this something that everyone's going to exploit? I don't know, because I hadn't seen enough, and maybe it's just a bad stretch. Maybe it's just first time in the major leagues. But I think we've seen more of that. And even I was looking at the whiff percentage. Up and out of the zone, 41%. The other way, 43%. Those are whiff percentages. And his highest whiff percentages almost are exclusively at the top of the strike zone. I think he sees the pitches up. He really likes them. And I think the opposing pitchers know that's where they can get some swing and miss with him.
Sounds a little like
and he's
Tyler
being exploited
Naquin.
because of it. That's my thought. I mean, we had a lot more track record of Naquin failing to have success at that. I felt very comfortable about making that decision. That still remains something with Brennan there. It's like I'm going to continue to watch and see with that. I'm not saying like that's the only way to get him out, but so far looks like a pretty safe way to get him out, and I think everybody has picked up on that. Okay, you mentioned Gabriel Arias. That's the final thing I've been wrong about. I was getting ready to, I think a week ago, say, I don't know how much more I can see. I'm ready to see more Tyler Freeman, and I'm still ready to see more Tyler Freeman. But I need to get Gabriel Arias in the lineup. I don't know about that. Well, I'm fully aboard the keep Gabriel Arias in the lineup train right now, and I'll say I was wrong about that because about a week and a half ago I was nowhere close to being on that train. But I will lead that charge. Keep his bat in the lineup right now. I really have been very pleasantly surprised. And yeah, there have been times where he's playing right field and he probably should not be and might struggle with a transfer or his foot might slip out from under him. But I've actually been kind of pleasantly surprised by he's picked up on some things, I think, pretty well. They obviously trust him for whatever reason at first base late in games that he's going to be better than, I mean, who wouldn't be, but better than Josh Bell. Gabriel Arias has barely played that position at all, and they're getting him into the lineup as the defensive replacement, and they're trusting him to go play right field. I think we're seeing some good positives here, some reasons for optimism for Arias, and I'll very happily keep that bat on the lineup for now to see what becomes of it. And I'll be wrong about not wanting to give him at-bats as a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I'd like to see him defensively at shortstop more. But you are seeing the tools, the raw skills, and you just wonder what that translates into over a longer look. But it feels like we've been hearing about these tools, these skills for so long that it's nice to finally see them on a major league field, even if it's just a semi-regular basis.
I need more of that. I need some positivity to take us home. By the way, this show is brought to you in part by SeatGeek. Get the app.
By the way, it's the Selby's Godcast. Thanks for joining us. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple, watching on YouTube, or you're just hearing us at the club.
Use the promo code Selby at SeatGeek, by the way. Save yourself 20% off your first purchase. Give me one really good, happy positive you take away from this weekend.
They won 2
It should not be this hard, dude.
I had 2 really good chocolate chip cookies Saturday night.
God, you are the worst.
Shot 190.
Be excited about
in a golf match.
all those infield singles and bloopers by Zunino keeping his job. Yeah. That's something to be really pumped about. I was ready to have full conversations about that, but not today, baby. Not today,
You know what
Zach.
the best part of this podcast is? Everybody can play it at their cookout on Memorial Day because here's your soundtrack. Whole family can get into it. Let's go.
All right, let's take it home. Feel good. 2 out of 3 against St. Louis. Who knows how long that's going to last? I don't know. They're going to play a really good team in Baltimore, but let's have some fun. Have a good week, everybody. Have a good holiday. We'll see you at Patriot later this week. Bye.